I think the programmes on television were very, very good. I think the Queen's absolutely amazing that she's reached this age and she is still carrying out official duties. I spent the weekend watching all the programmes on the television, listening to people's memories of various jubilees and coronations. I got involved with Age UK's creative windows for the Jubilee. I did a Zoom session where we made Union Jack flags on tissue paper to go in the window. I also did a lot of research online and found a photograph of the Queen that the Queen had given permission for people to use. I also had a banner that I'd made for VE Day, and I literally flipped it over and decorated it for the Queen's Jubilee and put various posters celebrating the Platinum Jubilee in the window and various pictures of the Queen on the windows as well.
And what about previous Jubilees?
The Silver Jubilee, I actually, with two neighbours, arranged a street party for all the children that lived in the street and the two little closes that run off the street. We also invited grandchildren along if their grandparents lived in the street. And we had a long table out. We closed the road off this bit because it's a dead end street.
And this is in Wood Farm, isn't it?
And we had long tables along the street with the food on it, and the park behind the houses opposite we used for the games with the children. I can't remember how much we charged, but each child that attended had a crown, Silver Jubilee crown to take home. The food, we sort of worked amongst ourselves and people in the street what food we would have on the table. I think we had jelly. I don't know if we had ice cream because it might have melted, because I remember it was a very, very hot day.
Hot day, yeah.
But we had sort of like jelly, sandwiches, sausage rolls, cheese and pineapple on sticks, cakes. And I think the children had a wonderful time. I think they all had hats as well, and as I said, there was games going on in the park behind the houses opposite. I think we were out there till quite late in the evening actually, with the children either playing or the adults sat round the tables talking and drinking and socialising.
And what about the coronation? You might not remember it particularly, but have you had stories handed down to you from family members?
The only thing that I can really remember is from photos, and that's photographs taken of us sat at a food table where I used to live in Harrow, like with the food and everything on there, and the little, I think the hats we had were like little plastic ones made like a Union Jack.
Right.
Funny things.
Yeah.
And that's really all that I can remember is from photos that I've seen.
Yeah. Have you ever had any encounters with the royal family?
Yes, I used to be in the St John Ambulance Brigade, and I actually was asked to do a duty at one of the Queen's garden parties. And I don't think she actually spoke to us, but we were sort of mingling round in the garden, and I think we got very, very close to her. And another thing, I used to run a creche at Barton Community Centre.
Yeah.
And Princess Anne came to visit. There was, in the big hall, there was a lunch party on for older people, or a lunch on, I think it happened regularly.
Yeah.
And we were in another hall running the creche, and Princess Anne came along and was talking to us, and just so normal. And I was actually allowed to keep my daughter out of school that day so she could meet Princess Anne. I was also asked to take part in a Guard of Honour at St John's House in London when the Queen visited there. Again, I don't think I actually got to speak to her, but it was an honour to be asked to form the Guard of Honour for the St John Ambulance Brigade there.
Right.
I went to make some bunting at E Street at the complex there.
Yeah.
With Tom, who showed us how to do it using all sorts of different methods. I helped with cutouts, and we had to trace it onto material. Someone else perhaps could colour it in, and that was very nice.
And that was part of this Creative Windows for the Jubilee project, wasn't it, with Age UK Oxfordshire?
Yes, it was.
Making big bunting on calico and doing screen printing. Some people were doing screen printing, weren't they? But I remember you did we did some tracing and colouring.
We did some tracing, didn't we?
Which was good. What about on the actual Jubilee weekend itself? Yeah, it was Saturday actually, wasn't it? Yeah, Saturday the 4th of June.
And we went to the mill, didn't we?
Yeah.
Where we did bunting to put up sort of in the window. There was a lady there who had bought lots and lots of different materials, but it was very interesting, and I did one with the Queen meeting somebody. Time for Tea was another one that was on. We had to glue it on, and then this lady showed us how to tie it if we wanted to put it in a window or something.
Oh, lovely.
And she said the session had started in the morning with a whole load of things that she bought. By the looks of the table, by the time we'd finished and most people had gone home, the table was nearly empty, because it was, I don't think it was all day, but it was a good portion of the day.
A few hours, yeah. So, and that was also at the Mill Art Centre, wasn't it, in Banbury? And that was the sort of celebration day for the Creative Windows for the Jubilee project. And well, there was cake, wasn't there, and tea and a bit of music, which was nice. And what about the rest of that weekend? Did you watch much of the proceedings on the television?
I recorded a lot of it so that I could watch it back when I felt like it. There was quite a bit that I did watch live, but knowing that I had recorded it as well.
Brilliant. And what did you think of it all? Did you enjoy it?
It was all wonderful. Everybody was so happy. It was nice to have something nice to think about for a change.
Yes.
The music in St Paul's was wonderful. And also I watched the Trooping of the Colour, because the Prince of Wales, he stood in for the Queen because she wasn't able to do it. And the music was lovely on that. Everything was... I don't think people could fault it, to be honest. Plus they had nice interviewers as well. And they had David Dimbleby. He did the commentary for St Paul's Cathedral. So he knew what he was doing.
So what about, Diane, can you cast your mind back to when you were younger? Do you remember any of the other Jubilees, like the Silver Jubilee or the Diamond Jubilee or the Golden Jubilee?
Not enough to be able to tell somebody what it was like.
No, okay, no. Yeah. But you didn't take part in any celebrations. This time you did more to celebrate than you have in previous years.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't ever celebrated like I've done with the Platinum Jubilee.
So you mentioned to me earlier that although you've never met a member of the royal family, Banbury did have a royal visit quite recently. You want to tell me who that was and why did they come to Banbury?
The Duchess of Cornwall came to visit the RVS.
What does that stand for, Diane? Is it
Royal Voluntary Service?
Right, and they've got a day centre, haven't they, here in Banbury?
They have.
Yeah. For older people.
The Duchess of Cornwall came. She's the president of the RVS. I didn't have the opportunity of meeting her, but I know that she was given an age-friendly Banbury badge to be able to wear on clothing.
Oh, they were very nice. They invited me to a little do in the road.
Oh, lovely, a street party. Thank you.
In this road, yes. Oh, and the other thing, do you remember the Queen Mother had a big procession after she was 100? They asked for volunteers, and I thought it was to go and look after brownies or something like that. But it wasn't. We were marching as well, and we were on Birdcage Walk, which is nice and sheltered, and we had 2 rehearsals for this in the morning, and I can't remember who ran the whole thing, but he told us we would never get there this side of Christmas, you know. Anyway, and then we did do the marching in the afternoon, and we were on Horse Guards Parade, and then the Queen Mother, of course, arrived in a carriage, and she was with our next king.
Oh, Prince Charles.
Because I think he was very fond of his granny. Anyway, that was another.
How exciting!
Oh, and Bruce got an MBE, so we as the family went up to watch that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What did he receive his MBE for?
well, he did an awful lot in the community.
Yeah.
As well as we were both GPs, you see.
Oh, I see.
So we've been quite busy.
Yeah, you sounds like you have. Yeah. So you mentioned this a bit earlier, but previous royal occasions. Now you've told me you can remember the Silver Jubilee in 1935.
Yes, but we were just in the garden at home. My aunt and uncle were at Blackheath, and obviously somebody was looking after us.
Yeah.
But all the adults went up to see the procession, you see.
Really?
We were left behind. We were not pleased.
But you can remember it though, which is amazing, isn't it? Yeah. And what about subsequent the coronation and the other jubilees? Do you remember much about?
Well, I did watch the coronation, obviously, but that was when we first had televisions, wasn't it?
Yeah. Lots of people bought televisions, didn't they, to watch it on? Yeah. So, and then you've had some royal encounters, haven't you, Sheila, over the years? Tell me a bit more about those in Scotland.
Well, they just were coincidental about where we were at the time that they went by.
Yeah.
I'm only 4 years different to the Queen, you see, so the things that were including her obviously included me.
Yeah. So I think you were telling me about how, and perhaps you could start from the beginning, tell me how you came to meet members of the royal family or see members of the royal family at Balmoral.
Well, the circumstances were that if you went to the Braemar Gallery, they were always there, and so if you were there, you weren't hobnobbing with them, but you were there at the same time.
Yeah, okay. And what took you up to Scotland? Did you have family there, or?
Yes, the two grannies lived in Aberdeen.
Right.
But my mother was actually born in a little one called Tarland.
Yeah.
Which was midway really between Deeside and Donside. And we always went there.
And that's near Balmoral, of course, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Gosh. So you've seen, and you said about seeing.
You saw them going to church and things at near Balmoral.
Mm.
You could see the Queen unaccompanied, going doing a little bit of shopping and things like that.
Right. Gosh.
And then, of course, it was nice when she got married to the Duke of Edinburgh. That worked very well, really.
Well, I thought it was very good. I thought the fly past over Buckingham Palace was incredible, with the aircraft making the number 70 as they flew across. That was incredible, amazing. Wasn't it? Trooping of the colour was excellent as always, and the pageant was amazing.
Yes,
yes, I enjoyed it. Really.
It, yeah. And what about here in Chipping Norton? Did you get involved in any celebrations here?
Well, we had various things going on. I mean, I go to the Crown and Cushion Hotel quite a lot, and that's the headquarters of the local branch of the British Legion, which I'm a member of. And we, just before the Jubilee, we had a quiz night, Right Royal Quiz it was called, and it was about particularly the British royal family, not necessarily now, but going back in time. There was a festival, and we had a parade through the town, and there were various other things going on, which is good. I'm glad I did manage to do something, because I've taken part in all the Jubilees and whatnot, going back, well, as a child at the coronation.
Yeah, and of course you attended the Age UK Jubilee party, didn't you, here in Chipping Norton?
I did indeed.
And
that was yes.
Something with you, didn't you?
Yes, that was a homemade record player.
Yeah.
I make my own things as well as use other people's.
Yeah, gosh. And did you play any records at the party?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
yes,
fabulous.
I did. A variety, really. Anything sort of particular to the Queen's reign, really.
So you mentioned, or you've enjoyed previous royal celebrations, jubilees, etc. Have you got any memory of those to share?
Well, I think the first thing that I was involved with as a child would have been the coronation in 1953. And I was entered into a fancy dress parade in Hayley. That's not far away from here. We lived at Hayley in Hayley at the time.
Yeah.
And I was in the fancy dress parade. A friend of the family dressed me. Now, if you can imagine me sitting here as a child with, I'm now in my normal clothing. Divide me in half down the middle. That side was normal clothing. This side was in Elizabeth I style.
Oh my word.
With pantaloons, the whole lot. And the cap, the hat I wore, was I think a wartime berry. One side was the Union Jack and the other side had the feathers and goodness knows what. I came in second, if I remember. And then after that there was a party in the local school. And then I think we went to watch part of the coronation with a neighbour who actually had a television. Because we didn't have a television in those days.
And who made that outfit for you?
With this friend of the family. She went to a heck of a lot of trouble. I had a cape, you see, like the Elizabethans used to wear a cape on one side. This funny hat. So I had sort of scarlet shorts one side and ordinary shoes and t-shirt like this, and on the other side it was Elizabethan.
Good
Elizabeth
Lord.
I.
Yeah. So you grew up in this area, did
Yes,
you?
I've always lived here. I was born in Witney and then I lived in Hayley. Then I went to live in Witney for a while and then I moved to North Lee for 34 years before I came here just before I retired.
Right. So what about other royal occasions, like the Silver Jubilee? Do you have any memories of that?
Well, I've got something I can fit in between that. And that was when the Queen came on a visit. She came on, I suppose you'd call it a whistle-stop tour, and that was 1959. Now, she came to Chipping Norton and then made her way to Witney. My father was chairman of the parish council, and he was invited to go to the official reception. So they dispatched me off to the local public house, and I was provided with tea and cakes, and then we stood outside and watched the Queen go past. But the other part of the story is that my parents had quite a tatty old flag they put up for the coronation. And by the time it came to when the Queen came, we need to get another flag. And there used to be a wonderful shop in Witney called the Cut Price Stores that used to sell all sorts of things. And they had this big bin of flags outside. And we bought one for 6 old pence, that's 2.5p. And it was said to have been flown at the coronation. Well, you've just passed it on the way in. I've just got it. That's the one I put up.
Yes.
And that flag was flown at the coronation.
Oh my goodness! So that would have been in London, do you think? Then
I think I should say it was in London because I remember Mum saying the man said that they reckoned it. They bought a whole batch of them.
Right.
Because they used to buy anything. And one of those things you could get anything from a pin to an elephant, really.
Yeah. Gosh, what like an Army and Navy store sort
bit
of.
like
yeah.
that. 80 years old. Yes.
So you've got a bit of coronation memorabilia there, haven't you?
Yes. And then the next big event was the Silver Jubilee of 1977.
Yeah. Where were you living at that time?
I was living in Witney.
Yeah.
We'd sold the farm.
Yeah.
We'd sold the farm and I'd living in Witney then. And I took part in the local carnival, Witney Carnival. And then there were various other events I took part in because various places had fetes and things like that. Now, I used to have a vintage Fordson Farm tractor, which I used to take to these shows, take to the steam rallies, and I drove it in the carnival in Witney. Yeah. And then we went to various village fetes and things like that. And we had various things, and of course that was a bit more. That summer was a bit more of a problem because we just had the hot summer of 76, and that's virtually as hot as it is now. And then, of course, the next year wasn't so good, but we did what we could and had quite a good time. Gosh. And then the next thing I think would be the Golden Jubilee. That was 2000 and 2002, wasn't it?
Yes.
Right, yes. And I was partly in the antiques business in those days, and I was in a antique centre in Wantage, and we hung the flag in the antique centre. Yeah. So that was there, and I took part in a Witney Carnival again, and Ensham Carnival, because I worked for a firm in Ensham called James Byrne Binders. Now they used to do the style of binding you see at the top of calendars, the wire bind, and they had quite a reputation for doing good floats for the carnival.
Yeah.
And we did this one. It was Cleopatra, Queen of the Nile. So it was Egyptian style. I was dressed up as the pharaoh, if you could believe it.
Yeah.
And then we had a pyramid on the back of the lorry, and it was draped with material with Egyptian hieroglyphics copied on it. I mean, what they said, I have no idea. I hope it wasn't rude, but they Egyptian hieroglyphics. And then the next one, of course, was the Diamond Jubilee. That was 2012.
Yeah.
Now, I was working for Witney Town Council then as a caretaker on the public halls. I used to work at the Corn Exchange and the Langdale Hall. And they knew I'd done these things on the other Jubilees, so I was co-opted onto the organising committee. And I was also a member of the Witney Model and Collectors Club at the time.
Right.
And so we had a large model show at the Langdale Hall, and I put a display of gramophones that were 24 feet long, and a room full of memorabilia, which I used to have, which is in storage.
Yeah.
And I was in the carnival again, and of course then we had the big Diamond Jubilee service in the church. I was at that, and there were various other, and the model club shows, so I had quite a bit to do there then.
So you've already mentioned the occasion when the Queen visited Witney.
Oh yes.
Yes. So have you ever had any other encounters with the royal family in your life that you can remember?
The only thing I can remember was in the late 80s, early 90s, I was in an antique centre in Oxford. Did you ever know a place called the Jam Factory?
Yes, I do know it well, yeah.
Well, it was one of the first real antique centres in Oxford.
Yeah.
I mean, there were three things of interest. Of course, it was a very wide range of things in there. And the characters that were in there were just unbelievable. You wouldn't get a bigger mix of characters in it anywhere in this antique. It was called the Oxford Antique Centre at the Jam Factory.
Yeah, because of course, just to mention, that was the old Cooper's Marmalade factory, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
yes,
which is why it was called the Jam Factory.
That's right. Yes, and one year there was a lot of excitement. Princess Margaret came in. She was she with some friends of hers that were at Abingdon.
Yeah.
And she was always interested a bit in antiques, and so she came into the centre. I saw her go past. She didn't stop. She was looking at other things. And the other thing, when I was doing an antique fair on the Banbury Road, and she came in there a day or two later. I think so. Well, I think what she used to do is she used to buy things to give to people she didn't like, or something like that. But anyway, I did see her.